Hello and welcome everybody. My name is Ariella Indigo and I'm your host for the Multidimensional Human Experience Global Summit. So the reason that I felt inspired to create this summit was to learn more about being a multidimensional human and to share that knowledge with everybody watching, and also to get some expert advice on how sensitive people, I include myself in that category, can really manage our sensitivities so that we can get up and running and ultimately deliver our purpose and make a major impact with our missions. There's lots of people waking up now, as we know, and many of us are awakening to our multidimensional natures. So I had an experience myself about 2.5 years ago now, which completely shifted the way that I understand reality forever. And really since then, I felt passionately drawn to raising awareness about other realities of existence and to help fellow sensitives to push past their challenges so that we can evolve spiritually and align with our missions. So in today's interview, I'm honoured to be joined by Gail and Gregory Hoag, who founded Metaforms over 30 years ago now, which is a really beautiful heart-based business which creates energetic tools that support people to evolve into higher awareness with source and heart consciousness. They're recognised as experts on sacred geometric technologies for renewing health, raising consciousness, reducing stress, manifesting purpose, and clearing electromagnetic interference. Gail and Gregory, thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to do this interview with you and for our viewers to connect with the huge amount of experience that you guys have got in the multidimensional arena. I'd like to welcome you to the summit and start off, if I may, by asking you both just to tell us a bit about your own awakening journeys and also how you've come to connect so deeply with sacred geometry.
Well, thank you, Ariella. I'll start. I'll jump in here. And, the journey is an amazing thing. I believe that we come into this incarnation, and even though we don't necessarily remember the clarity of past lives, this is sort of a stream of many lives and, an accumulation of knowledge, experiences, recognition, awareness, acceptance of who we are. And we come here to take that next step, to polish the surfaces, to just continue on with this journey. And so for me, actually my first kind of like little mini awakening was when I was 3 years old. And I was outside playing and I was swinging on a swing and something hit me. It was like, wow, I know why I'm here. I'm here to bring joy to the world. I'm here to bring a sense of purpose, of understanding, of, that there's, we are all here to make an impact on the planet. And I couldn't tell you from the 3-year-old psyche what specifically that was. However, it was so profound that it changed my life. And I just knew that it wasn't going to happen when I was a little girl, but throughout time, I would be on a journey where it was about making a difference on the planet. And so where that shifted into geometry is pretty much, I journeyed into being an artist. And as an artist, I would look very deeply into things. And I was fascinated with light and color. And so that also brought me into understanding shapes and form and all kinds of things. When I was exploring that time with painting and color and light, I was also starting to get deeply into the work of Buckminster Fuller. He's the one who created the geodesic dome. The word synergistics is what really is one of his word contributions. I was fascinated. He talked about the tetrahedron, which is the 3-dimensional triangle. and how that was what he called the closest packing of spheres. And it made sense energetically that everything is organized in particular ways and geometric ways that when energy comes into matter, it follows certain pattern and form. So I was getting very, very involved in that, and had a real understanding of geometry. And not terribly long after, I had moved to Colorado, and I was bringing through the consciousness of Bucky Fuller after he'd passed away, because I said, wow, I love this being and what he had to share. I'm sure there's still a lot more up there that I can connect in with. So I asked, and I would go into meditation, and I would bring through that knowledge. And it got to a point where there was so much technical scientific information. Well, I didn't have a science background. So I just said, wait a minute, I'm sort of at that point where this is beyond my capability to do much of anything with this. And I'm a practical person. So I said, either stop, or Spirit, bring me somebody that I can work with where we can make a difference with this information. And it was very shortly after that that we got together and we found each other.
Oh, Spirit was pushing us together for a long time. I had one of the couple cards that she had handmade in my wallet. It was the only card in my wallet for a year before we connected.
Really?
Someone said, you need to meet this woman. And so, that's part of what you're sharing with people, is just how synchronicities start happening more and more in our lives. And the more we recognize them, acknowledge our connection to Spirit, the more Spirit goes, I'm going to give you more. It's like a friend of ours says, thank you and bring me more. Whenever you have anything lovely happen in your life, when cash, when love, when experience comes into your life, thank Spirit and say, bring me more.
I like that.
It's not being greedy, because, it's just, that's the natural order of who we are. We're spiritual beings, as many of us realize, having a physical experience. And so we're awakening to that higher dimensional experience. And it's such a joy to recognize that we're being loved, we're being played with. And I guess my journey really started more seriously about, close to 50 years ago now. I started doing a lot of different meditations, working with different masters. And then in 1980, I built a very expensive pyramid, cost over $50,000 to put it together, with the crystals, with the gold, with the silver, with crystal balls this large. And can't see both my hands. It was big.
I can see.
But bottom line, it was something that the other man that had developed it and myself, we were sleeping in every night, taking turns. And it set off my Kundalini, which for those that may not be familiar, it's that energy that comes up from the earth. It's a familiar understanding in most indigenous cultures, especially in India and working with the chakras. It's the energy that moves up from the earth in a way that starts to clear all the chakras, that starts to allow for a higher connection. But it was so strong and uncomfortable, really, when it first started. For years, it took a while to bring it into balance. I had so much energy coming through me that there were holes being burned in my feet just from walking on the earth. And I had to really work to calm the energy in my body. But what the end result was the ability to communicate with higher dimensional beings, realizing that I am a multi-dimensional being. It's important to be grounded here. and that information started flowing through. So I started building geometries like, some of these forms out of metal, and I was carrying them around in a little box when I met Gail, and she really was, just that impetus. Both of us realized we have work to do together, and then we realized, okay, being married would just synergize, bring that energy together in a way where we both supported, recognized, and universe was supporting us in working together. And here it is. We've been doing this as a business, as you said, for over 30 years. And we've been working together, and, we see each other every day, almost constantly working together, working on the business, writing things together. And we've gotten to a point where it's become pretty smooth and easy. And, working through all the rough bumps. And that's, that's what it is to be a human being. You still have the experience here, and it's important to work through everything and see Spirit as really offering some of the things that we need to learn as a speed bump to slow us down, recognize, okay, this is something to work on, and Spirit is always there to support us in that process.
Yeah, that is amazing. I love both of your stories. I love listening to people's awakening stories. They're always so different and unique. And yeah, whether it's like a knowingness that you had, Gail, which is amazing to have had that from such a young age. And yet, whether it's a knowingness or whether it's an activation or an experience like your Kundalini suddenly coming to life like Gregory had, it's unique to all of us. And I love what you said about, which is something that I resonate with after having, a big galactic activation 2.5 years ago. And a lot of people, there's a lot of people, and a lot of people watching this will be going through their own awakenings or have had their own sort of big experiences. And I think we can all relate to, it takes a while for this energy to integrate, right? When you have these big experiences. And part of the challenge and what is so important to align with our missions and to ensure that we're impacting with our missions is that we are bringing that down into the physical and anchoring our missions into the physical, right? If we're staying up there, which I know it's tempting to do, but we're here to ground these energies into the physical, which you guys are obviously doing beautifully with your products. Do you want to speak a bit more about that? Because I think that's a big area for many people.
Yeah, I think this really deserves a little extra airtime because at least in the past, I think a lot of people thought about ascension in terms of leaving, that we don't need the body, we don't need this whole physical dimension, whatever. Yeah. Our souls have chosen to be here. They've chosen this whole amazing evolutionary path. There's so much that we have here to learn from, to enjoy, and most importantly, to be co-creators. And that's a really big part, how we can be co-creators in the way of love and light. Because there's been co-creation in the way of darkness and power over and all the kinds of extremes that we're seeing played out on our planet now and throughout history. Our position is to bring consciousness, to bring awareness, to bring resonance to a whole nother level of humanity, which exudes love and light. So, I think that when it gets down to it, that's really what this whole journey is about, and honoring the physical. There's so much with recognizing that even down to like healing the body. You're not going to heal the body if you want to leave it all the time or if you want to make it wrong. you're only going to do that through true appreciation and acceptance of what's been brought to us, what we can extract from those experiences and the ways that we've looked at that and shift those perspectives. So what we really work on with everything that we do is we have designed tools that support people in being here and then being able to reach higher connection. Because that's really what it's about. Being more of who we really are from the higher levels, from the higher dimensions. And when I say higher dimensions, I don't mean, that means that we're outside of the body. It's really about bringing that breath of all those qualities, those relationships, into physical interaction, into this life experience that we're all having.
Yeah.
I was going to say,
yeah, please do.
Universe doesn't waste anything. And something that science is aware of is just the number of cells in our body, and each cell has DNA strands woven through it. And so when you look at the quantity of DNA within the body, this double helix, which is really, if you were to take it out of each cell and line them up end to end, it would stretch over 14 billion miles. And, science says right now that only 1.5% is necessary for the 2.7 billion different chemicals that are manufactured in the body. All the aspects to run the body physically comes down to only 1.5% of our DNA. And yet we've got 14 billion miles. It's like, what's that doing there? And part of that is it is literally an antenna system. And what it is working with is light. So to be enlightened is literally to bring light into the body. And science has shown this, that you put DNA in a room and totally seal off the room, you'll start seeing photons popping out of nowhere in that room and moving toward the DNA. And not only does it move toward the DNA, if you take the DNA away, the photons hang out where the DNA was for up to 30 days, a month. So it's like we're little light trails. If you can see from the higher dimensions, we have light pouring into us. We are running on light. We are working with light. Information is carried through on those light frequencies and vibrations. And the body is becoming enlightened when it is working in those vibrational frequencies that are aligned with the higher aspects of ourself. And joy and love and all those positive aspects are part of what open up that channel. And whenever we have negativity, like when we have anger or we're feeling sad, we literally shut our bodies down. We are not open to that love. We're not open to that light. And something to understand is there really is only one emotion, and that emotion is fear. And what I mean by that is it emotes from the body. And the fear had a purpose as this body was developing over the eons, and that purpose was to get us out of harm's way. When bad guys came up over the hill, when there was a saber-toothed tiger, all the chemicals would flood our body, the cortisols, and we'd start running. Nothing else mattered but to save our bodies. But now that fear is not helping us. Science even says that stress is killing us. Negative emotions make us sick. Anger can literally shut the heart down. And so we're seeing that the reason is it's blocking that higher flow of light. It's blocking that flow of love. And when you feel love, When you feel joy, that's your higher self coming through. It's not coming from the body. You feel it in the body, but it's your higher self talking to you. And it's saying, go for it. What you're doing is good. What you feel joy about, follow your joy. That's the essence of what Joseph Campbell said when he was saying, follow your bliss. He's saying that's your higher self speaking. Trust it. If you're sad and you're hanging out with your friend and you're feeling, terrible and you're feeling guilty, and it's like you're blocking the truth. That isn't who you are. And you need to find ways to get out of that funk. And some of the things we do literally increase the vibration. When I was showing you earlier some of the geometries, what happens with a geometry that's three-dimensional is it literally starts gathering energy. Just like our DNA, the spirals are moving energy through the body, which helps create the electrical flow within the body. The body runs on electricity inside. This is a form of the electromagnetic flow of energy, a form of light. The magnetic flow, the electric flow, they work at crossing each other to create frequencies in the body for communication, for movement of energy. And that's what these dimensional tools that we create, the big ones, and then we have found a way to make them very flat onto a surface where
wow.
You can see those different flat patterns.
I can, yes.
Okay, what those are is basically there are 9 shapes on there, and those 9 shapes
beautiful
correlate to 3 different 3-dimensional geometries. Because you see, if you take a 3-dimensional geometry and you look at it from the edge, or you look at it from the point, the vertice, or you look at it from the face, the geometry changes. And when you have each of those 3 perspectives on a flat surface, you can project 3-dimensional energy into a flat surface. So that's what we're doing when we're wearing some of these pieces.
Yeah, I noticed you've both got pendants on, which look very lovely.
Yeah, these are the Heart Companion, and Gregory is going to show you there. It's a 2-sided pendant with the geometries and gemstones. They're really beautiful gemstones.
Really beautiful.
On each side. And
so you see that's one side and another side, because by having 2 sides, you can decide how you want the energy to flow in your body. Will it flow down into the earth, into your heart, be more grounded and connected to Earth Mother? Or does it flow up and become more mental, more energetic, more connected to higher aspects of ourself? So you control the energy flow, and it works either way to really start opening the heart space to allow people to have so many incredible experiences of connecting with their higher self, because your soul starts riding this vibration through, and it becomes easier and easier to connect to who
like
you
a tuning
are.
fork, kind of like a tuning fork.
It's a way of resonating, and it is the technology that's inside with all of these different toroidal flows and antenna systems and the geometries. It sets up a particular pattern. And actually, we take these tools and then we put them in a chamber that we have on our land. And the chamber is kind of like really creating that coherent field, so that it's almost like there's a lot of raw material in there. And then when you put it into that chamber, and the innards of it have the capability to hold that, those frequencies, they can hold that light. And so as a result, when you are wearing this, what happens is that you're connected. You're remembering who you are. You're able to, we talk a lot these days about making that transition from the head to the heart, living your life through that truth, that expression of the heart, which is far wiser than just the brain in and of itself. And so relationships shift, intuition opens up, the ability for synchronous situations to happen. Those are all very specific situations that show that we're in alignment with those higher dimensional energies, with that aspect of ourselves that's been wanting to come through. And it's coming through in a way that we can step back and we can accept it. We can be a part of that. And it's really interesting. One of the things we talk about is, and this is all because we've had so many experiences with thousands and thousands of people all over the world who are working with our technologies, and they write to us and let us know. And things that are simple, like for instance, we have certain habit patterns, and we will react to people or situations in, the same old way, whether we want to or not. And with wearing the pendant or having the eye connect on you, what happens is it's like there's a stopgap, like, wait a minute, I can sit back, I can take a breath, I can become more mindful. And in that moment of mindfulness, I can be more than what I would have been with that sort of knee-jerk reaction.
Yes.
We actually saw, this was really cool, we saw evidence of this. We've done some research with a number of different technologies to show the benefits of this, to show how it really works with our physical body, with our etheric body. It makes dramatic difference. Well, yesterday we were getting some reports back from some brainwave research that's being done. And the equipment that's out there these days is amazing. They can show all these different places in the brain and what they work with and all kinds of stuff. And it actually showed that it calmed down and quieted the part of the brain that would go into those quick reactions, those knee-jerk reactions. And as we were hearing that, we're going, wow, that's exactly what this does.
Wow.
It's something where we can operate, we can function differently. And it takes us into being the higher human then, which is, that's the pathway that so many of us are on now.
It was interesting. This researcher was looking at the way when I put this on, that my brain waves shifted she was measuring delta, theta, alpha, beta, and gamma. And the whole backside of the head just lit up and became very active in theta, beta, and alpha. And she said, I've seen this one other place, and that was at this conference where they had this man from Turkey come in. He went into a meditation. He then took swords, swallowed them, and had them come out his neck without blood, which sounded totally unbelievable and gruesome. But she said she saw these swords going through him, and they measured his brainwave patterns the whole time. And she said, that's where I saw this type of brainwave pattern. And I've never seen it before with, my regular customers, which is quite remarkable. Not that I'm going to swallow anything, but the bottom line, it just shows that there is a remarkable shift that allows us to get into a higher state. Obviously, a higher state that can even affect the body physiologically to allow us to align with aspects of ourself, just for healing and well-being.
Mm-hmm.
Something that we may not fully understand is that every single difficulty that we have in our lives. Every single disease is where we have stopped or blocked that flow of energy from source from coming through our body. And we often speak of the heart. It's like the information and running our body doesn't come from the heart as much as we should use a different pronoun that says it comes through the heart. So, it's like the heart is the doorway to higher self. And the more we tap into our higher self, the more the heart is awakened to that. And it's set up with so many nerve fibers going from the heart to the brain. There are more nerve fibers going from the heart to the brain than there are from the brain to the heart. And so this is what needs to open. This is part of the process of allowing soul to come into this body, to run this body, to use the brain like a calculator and a computer. And so when we have the right things managing the brain, then we really start to soar. Then we start moving into that place of connection and love that is really the purpose for being in a human body. And it's such a joyful experience.
It's incredible. You guys explain this stuff so well. I have to say, I'm absolutely riveted by everything that you're saying. There's so much knowledge and wisdom. And this is exactly the reason that I wanted to put together this summit, because I myself want to learn from people like you who've been doing this for a long time now. And we're not taught this stuff at school in the mainstream, as we know. And it really makes sense. This is a great interview in terms of, the amount of knowledge that we're getting. And you know what? One of the things that I really appreciate that you've spoken about, and it's actually something that every expert, leader, way shower, intuitive that I'm speaking to is saying in their own language, and it's a common thread through this summit, which I love. Everybody's saying how important the human body is, and the physical body, and to bring that light, to bring that energy into the physical body. And I think one of the things that surprised me when I put together this summit is that some people would probably think that, it's going to be kind of all up there and completely ungrounded, right? But all of you guys who have been doing this for a long time are like, no, that it's to bring it in to the physical. And that's where it is. It's the soul integrating with the physical. And I think that is such a great message for everybody watching, because there'll be a lot of star seeds, other multidimensional beings watching, and multidimensional includes the physical, right?
Really, it's like we are operating simultaneously on all those higher levels, but this is the consciousness that needs to tie them together in 3D so that 3D can evolve in a spiritual manner. And so this is such an important time in creation. It's like that's what the shifting of the Mayan calendar was all about. And that's happening with the Egyptian calendar, moving into Aquarius. It's happening with the Vedic understanding of the timing of the precession of the equinoxes. We are moving out of the Kali Yuga right now into the Golden Age. But that isn't something where it's going to be an automatic process where you wake up and say, oh, now I'm in, all the bad guys have been taken care of, and of course I'm one of the good guys. Yes. It's like, it doesn't happen like that. You have to work at your own consciousness all the time.
Absolutely.
And that's the opportunity, because the opportunity is to ground that in your system and then be of service to others, because in serving, you are served. And you can't fake that.
Yeah.
You know, it really needs to be heartfelt and real. And we all know that. You know, that's the neat thing. We have the rhythms and the vibrational things inside of us that we feel, you know, this is real. This is what I'm supposed to be doing, or stay away from that. It doesn't feel good. And the more you bring your body into those resonant frequencies, like you said, that's a perfect analogy, working with a C tuning fork that starts to vibrate with a C tone. It's called resonance, and that's what Gail was talking about. Yeah. It's what these geometries do, the tools we do create resonance with higher dimensional frequencies, so they come into our bodies. And then it changes the way we think, it changes the way we feel. And then you don't want to eat certain ways because, you know, then you aren't vibrating as well. And
so for people with all of these sensitivities, you know, like myself included, and I'm sure you guys relate to sort of being an empath, these tools that you have developed are extremely powerful then in helping. It sounds like you just have that kind of interruption, it tunes you to those higher frequencies so that you could really be more mindful about not just reacting, so that you can speed up your evolution, your soul evolution, which is
absolutely. And you know, it really does speed things up, because as you're opening to this higher awareness, and as you're looking at your experience as, what am I learning from this? You know, you're taking in so much. You're in a higher evolutionary path at that point. You know, one of the biggest problems is when we resist. Many years ago, and I used to do channeling for like scientists and things, and there were some scientists that were working on superconductors, and they were saying, why is it that, this was back in the 80s, that technology seemed like it was moving so quickly, and then all of a sudden it kind of like stopped. You know, there wasn't anything that was really coming forth. And the information that came through was, when you're working with something like superconductors, you're working in a non-resistant field. There is no resistance. That's why things can levitate and all kinds of stuff like that. Now, we resist so much in our life, you know, the way that we're you know, we have learned, the way we are programmed with so much of what's around us. I mean, in order to create energy rather than being able to operate using free energy, we have to combust and break things apart. Well, in order for us to really move into these higher technologies, we are little by little, and in some cases bigger hunks, learning how to let go of that resistance.
That's
and
the key thing.
Accepting. Now, acceptance is a profound difference. You know, and if you look at, you know, whether it's in healing or relationships, you know, whatever it is, when we can stop that like pushing away or wanting to dull our senses or call it a bad name or whatever it is, and instead sit back and just in wonder and awe, what do I learn from this? What is this opportunity here? That is acceptance, you know, when we say the beauty of what's being presented, even though it might be disorienting, it might be painful, it might, you know, be, you know, really emotionally distressing. Whatever it is, when we sit and we embrace it and say, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. I accept what's being brought to me. Then we get ourselves on a fast track.
Yes.
It's so entirely different. And that's what these tools are designed to do, because they're working with the way that energy comes into this dimension. You know, when you go into a beautiful place in nature, you know, where you hear that bubbling brook, the leaves and the colors, and, you know, just, it's so delicious. It's so wonderful.
Yes.
Your body just relaxes. You're not resisting. You're accepting. You're going, thank you, give me more, like what we shared before. And that's the way energy wants to work. And so our tools are calculated, are created to enhance that ability to accept. As we accept, then we evolve and we're able to love, we're able to bring the light in, we're able to really be in service for the good of all.
And you feel as if you are in that space in nature all the time, because you're starting to understand that's the natural order of the universe. And when you feel the natural order, you can carry that with you wherever you go. And when you were speaking about being empathic, I know many of us are, and sometimes people feel almost victimized by their own empathy. Like they so tune in to the pain of the planet or the pain of others or what's going on, and they get sucked into that. But it's important, like with our tools, one of the first things I hear from people is they are saved from that experience of losing self. It's almost like you start to form a field that is so strong around yourself, and you see the integrity and the importance of integrity of self that allows you to be strong from the inside out, so that whatever others are going through, you can offer love, you can offer succor, you can offer support, but you don't have to be pulled into that realm, which is something that sensitive people, that empath sometimes, get caught in.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that, because you're absolutely right. That is, I've had those challenges personally. I've met many people in the spiritual communities who are, very powerful empaths who also have that challenge. So I love that solution. That's really empowering.
We're spiritual beings. We shouldn't come into an incarnation where we feel victimized by the incarnation. We are not being pulled apart by a negative world. We are so strong in that love and light within ourselves. And, that's everything that we're doing to support people, so that this is how the world is shifting. It's shifting through each of us, stepping into our power, stepping into our light. And literally, when we talk about expanding into inclusion of the higher aspects of our being, what that is an expansion of consciousness. Consciousness is not just about the physical. It's about being able to operate from a fully integrated emotional aspect, a mental aspect, a spiritual, psychological, all those dimensional aspects, all the way to soul. When we start incorporating that and expressing it through this little physical body, what happens is that's an expansion of consciousness. And only consciousness is going to change the world. We get caught up in thinking, if we had a better political system, or if we changed our economic system, or if we really start working on our healthcare and our educational system. But all these systems are reflections of the consciousness of the people running them. If you try to change the system without changing the consciousness, you'll go right back or into another situation that's just as unconscious and separating, where it's not taking all of us into account for service to all, for the good of all, for the love of all. And it starts to take us into separation and fear instead of love and unity. So consciousness, each one of us working on that within ourselves, has a ripple effect that is so far beyond what we can even envision, that we see great souls like Buddha and Krishna and Muhammad and Jesus could changed so much of the world because their consciousness was clear, because their consciousness was connected, because there was that embodiment of soul that everyone was attracted to. And this is the time when, just as Jesus said, you will do what I have done and even greater deeds. And this is the time when each of us has the opportunity to step up to that offering, that opportunity. The nature of the time is more energy is coming through. We are waking up and we have each other. We see there are other people that are doing this. There's nothing to fear. Express your love, express yourself, because there is such a tide coming that we can all ride that tide, and each of our successes helps the other succeed even more. And so that's the joy of being here with you, is that we're going, yes, aren't we having fun together? We're in the play box and we're having fun throwing sand around and making little castles and building things. And, you know, if you can find what your purpose is in life, then build the sandcastle that will make people around you explode into more joy and love.
Wise words. I mean, I'm seriously loving this interview. We are learning so much. Thank you for sharing so generously with your knowledge. I want to talk about your free gift in just a moment, because it's amazing, and I want everybody to go and grab that, because I think it's going to really change some people's lives. But before we do that, you've mentioned purpose. There's a lot of people, as you know, who are saying, well, what is my purpose? You know, how do I find it? What would you say to those people? What's your advice?
Well, that I think is everyone's personal journey to find their purpose. And, a lot of times, if you just honor what you're doing, like what, what's in your heart, what, in your relationship. Sometimes when we try to get too heady and go, what's my purpose? And we're trying to figure out something that fits into this world. Well, it doesn't necessarily fit into, this is your job, this is your whatever. Right. But, people know, I mean, when it gets down to it, we're here to love. We're here to love. We're here to expand that goodness, that service to others. We can do that in so many different ways. And when you really, get to the bottom line, it's about love. It's about loving your life, loving yourself, loving others, and knowing that, we are really about unity. We've worked in belief systems that give us all these cues about being separate, power over what's better, what's not, different strata. And when it gets down to it, we are all unity.
Yes.
So it's really about finding your ability to live your life in the most loving and lightful way, in whatever delights you, whatever your gifts, urge you to. I believe that intuition is so important. We're taught not to listen to those higher sensitivities. Those sensitivities are the qualities that really get us on track. And so, my suggestion is, and we'll get a little bit more into this with our free gift, and that is, really come back to that simplicity of listening to that, that inner knowing, that guidance, that resonance that just says, yeah, that's what feels right.
Amazing.
And I wanted to say that, people often think of what's my purpose in the sense of doing something. Mm-hmm. And our doingness, like what I just finished saying, doingness without consciousness is not proper doingness. Doingness has to come from your beingness. when you really connect to higher self. And that's something that if you want to get down to, is there a purpose that's generally there for every single human being? And there is. And that purpose is to be a conduit, to be a channel for the higher dimensional self to come through into this dimension, and to be that bridge that allows love and consciousness to flow into this dimension. And then the way that it's going to flow, that's what universe will support you in discovering. But you have to discover the flow first. You have to serve that love within yourself first, allowing it to blossom. And when that blossoms, then you find out what kind of flower you are. But you don't pull it out of the ground and say, what are you? Are you a daisy? It's kind of like, no, you got to let it grow. You got to make your connection. And once that is flowing, then universe, you just follow the energy, and you're taking footsteps this way. And then all of a sudden you're walking this way because someone drops a book over here. You go, oh, okay. And then someone says something here, and then you make a great pot of soup, and someone says, this is amazing. I've never tasted soup like this. And you say, well, it's because of the love. And you go, oh, I would love to put love into soup for people. How do I, your purpose develops out of your heart. Yes. And not the other way around.
You guys are awesome. I'm loving this. There is so much wisdom coming out, so much helpful advice. Thank you so much. We've only got a couple of minutes left, I'm afraid, and I really, really want to speak about your free gifts, actually, because there's not just one. So can I hand you the stage and take us through that?
Do you want to? Okay. Well, we have two major chapters that we've been working on in a new book. And we're going to pull reports from those two chapters. One will be how to connect to higher guidance. And that's the 12 most important steps to absolutely ensure clarity and accuracy on this path of spiritual evolution, and how to focus on building a strong connection with Source that will endure. And then the second report will be understanding the 12 pathways that Spirit is using in your life daily to communicate with you. Right. So how you can recognize them, how you can emphasize them, how you can feed them so it grows, so you have more communication with Spirit. And that's the second report that we're putting together.
And then to kind of bring it all together, where we've got an attunement that will be like a little short meditation. And in the background of this meditation, we are capturing the energy of our Source Bridge technology, where I mentioned before we have these chambers here on our land, and through sacred geometry and resonance, we are generating certain coherent fields. And we're able to capture that energy on audio tape. And with that behind us, we'll lead you through an attunement to support you in these connections and your ability to really, get your place in your relationships and open up your intuition more profoundly.
Amazing. I'm so excited about your free gifts, and thank you so much. That's highly generous. And I just recommend to everybody, go and rush, click on the link that I'm sending you. You have seen how you guys are phenomenal teachers. You've got a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience. So, if this 45-minute, 50-minute interview is anything to go by, I think people should really download your free gifts and the attunement as well, because I just think you guys are awesome. You have so much wisdom to share. I thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to connect with you, Ariella.
It's awesome. I'm just loving, I'm loving creating this summit and meeting with you guys. I'm learning so much. It's really cool. So thank you for being here. It's truly an honor. And thank you to everybody who has tuned in and listened to this amazing interview. It's mind-blowing. I'm going to have to spend a little bit of time after this interview processing some of the information that I've heard, because there was just huge amounts in there. So many tools and techniques. And the other thing is, I know with you guys, you have these amazing energy vortexes, don't you, around where you live as well. So these 3 gifts, they're going to be like, seriously, some next level stuff. So I'm looking forward to trying those out. And yeah, just thank you everybody for watching, and please keep on tuning into the summit. I think you'll agree it's been amazing so far, and I've got more experts and more incredible free gifts and information sharing, heart sharing. We're all raising our vibration and expanding our consciousnesses together. It's awesome. So thank you everybody, and I will see you all tomorrow. Thank you.
Blessings.
Thank you. Blessings.